everyone, and welcome back to That's So Matthew. I am so excited to have a very special guest here with me today. Say hi, introduce yourself.
Hello, guys. I'm some review dude.
Yes, and you have been on the podcast 2 other times, so this is your 3rd try. The third time's a charm. And you also talked about Quince back in January, so everyone after this episode, make sure to go check that one out. And the Even Stevens movie back in November already, which is kind of crazy considering that it's already like April when this comes out. So that is really exciting, and I'm so excited to have you today to talk about the 2008 2009 Disney Channel original movie Hatching Pete.
Yes.
I almost said 2008. I don't know why I said 2008, but I thought it came out in 2008. So that is super fun. And so before we get started, I didn't ask you to prepare a fun fact, but if you have a fun fact that you would like to share with us, you're more than willing.
All right. So my fun fact is, as of March, I am practicing 3D modeling in the same program that Disney uses to make their Pixar films.
That is so cool. That is actually really cool. So thank you so much for sharing, because I mean, Disney, you know how they make their films, everyone, they're very professional. So I think that's super cool that you're kind of interested in that and you're going for that. I think that's super cool. So my fun fact for today is that this is one of the only Disney Channel movies that I have only seen one time before discussing it on the podcast. I watched this film for the first time last year, like around this time. It was like right around the beginning of like the first quarantine with my sister. And so I'm very interested to talk about it because it sounds like we're kind of both on the same page of how we lean on this film. But we will not spoil our opinion for you, and we'll let you guys kind of listen in as we go through and break down this movie and its plot, characters, everything. And I think you guys are going to like this episode. So I guess really without further ado, if you're ready to start talking about our characters, I'm ready.
I definitely am.
All right. So up first, Jason Dolley, who has been in so many Disney Channel projects. You might know him from Cory in the House, Good Luck Charlie, Minutemen, Read It and Weep, so many things. And I think we just need to appreciate the fact that right now he's a Twitch streamer, because I just think that's really funny to me, because that sounds like something that anyone would want to do in 2021.
Yep, I agree. I actually dabbled into that a bit myself.
Yeah, I've never I've watched streams before. I'm pretty sure I have a Twitch account, but I don't actively watch some stuff. So yeah, I don't know what there's a random ad playing on my computer that just kind of came out of nowhere. So, that kind of just shows that life goes on the podcast. We're very keeping it interesting. So Jason Dolley's character, he plays Pete Ivy, hence Hatching Pete. And Pete Ivy is the main character of the film, kind of I feel like I already said that. He is very introverted, very quiet, very kind of I don't want to say nerdy, because I feel like that's super not, I'm saying that as a bad thing, but he's very smart. He's pretty cool. He's helpful. And he throughout the movie, he has a huge major character development, which is super good, because you guys know I love my character development in these DCOMs. And he becomes so much more confident throughout the film. And I think it's one of the parts of this movie that makes it so good, is that they actually have character development with actually one of these characters, which is we know it's something that we don't see a lot in Disney Channel movies. He's good friends. I guess you could say best friends with Cletus, who they've known each other for, I think they said since they were kids. They trust each other. He just seems like a trustworthy guy, and he just seems like such a cool dude. However, he doesn't know how to express himself, which is why he's shy. But throughout the movie, you kind of get to see his journey. And I thought he was actually okay. I think he was the one I preferred in the friendship compared to Mitchel Musso. character, I don't even know what I'm saying, who's Cletus. And I don't know, I just felt like he was a lot more likable, but I do wish that he kind of maybe put himself out there a little bit more, or maybe expressed himself better. I don't know. I just felt that he just could have been a little bit better, but I don't think that it was like Jason Dolley's fault for like the way he portrayed him. I just think it was how the movie was written in that sense, because I just felt like the movie kind of was poorly written. Spoiler alert, I guess, on my opinion. But
No,
yeah.
I actually I see that a lot, especially throughout the film. It's just like if he would have done, or they would have developed his character a little bit more, I probably would have said this would have been one of my more memorable DCOMs, probably of that decade.
Yeah.
Just because he's likable, but you can't get into his character, and I'm like,
I totally agree, because I just feel like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but he's just like one of those, like a two-dimensional character, if you get what I mean. Like he's just very plain. You just get that he's shy, he's introverted, he's kind of like what people consider like a nerd, or he's called like a loser several times, whatever. I just felt that they needed to like just dig a little bit deeper into that sense, because it just felt like they just kind of brushed to the surface with the character. And considering that this movie is literally called Hatching Pete, you would think that Pete would be like actually a character that gets a little bit more attention. However, I felt like they literally cared more about Cletus the entire time than Pete. I just think the movie was written in that sense that, I don't know, like personally, I feel like Jason Dolley was pretty well known at the time. I mean, that was before Good Luck Charlie, but he was in Corey in the House. But I feel like they tried to grow with Mitchel Musso, because he was on Hannah Montana. He was in like a lot of other things. So I feel like they tried to like focus more on him than,
I could see that.
I don't know. Yeah, I just think it's just they tried to like I don't even know. I can't think of the word. Just like make their money off of him, and it just showed. I feel like if they really wanted that, they should have just gave him the role of Pete and just called it a day.
Yep, I remember before I actually watched the movie for the first time, I seen snippets of it here and there on the channel, and was always confused as to why they focused on Cletus more when it was called Hatching Pete. I never understood it. Even after watching it, I still like.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I totally get what you mean. Because like when I'm prepping for an episode, I check out like the trailers that they release and like commercials and stuff. And like just from that, you still see that they're focused more on Cletus than Pete. And even after watching it, I'm still kind of like left with the question why they focused on Cletus more, because I mean, it's literally hatching Pete. And I just think that it just goes back to the two-dimensional character writing and just the poor writing of this film in general, in like kind of a meaner way. I mean, that's kind of negative, but I don't really think there's any other way to say it.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly.
I just think it's poorly written, and I think that a thing that maybe would have made it a little bit better was if they would have focused on Pete more and his development.
Yes.
So yeah, there's my opinion on Pete. I don't know if you have anything you would like to add, say about Pete that we haven't already covered.
No, I think you covered it pretty much. I feel the same way. If he was a more, character that you can relate to, let's say.
Yeah,
that you can relate to.
I feel like,
yes, relatable.
Relatable. That would have made it a lot better. I feel like for some people, Pete might be relatable. I feel like, maybe for someone that's a little bit shy. I mean, he had so much going for him. He had his relationship with Angela. He was like trying to get noticed by all these girls. No one really knows. So I feel like he is relatable. I just feel like the way that they wrote him just wasn't relatable. Like the character, totally relatable, but just how they wrote the script just kind of took away from that.
Yeah, I feel like they needed more writers or something.
Yeah, let's find out who wrote this movie, because I'm now curious to see if they like worked on anything else. So it was written by Paul W. Cooper. I don't recognize the name off the top of my head. from any other names. So I'm just going to do a quick Google search because I'm nosy to see what else he did. Nothing else really on Disney Channel. It looks like he wrote some, I think, some screenplays at some point on CBS. It looks like so. He was not part of any other Disney Channel show or movie. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess they got one of the one-time writers.
A one-timer, and I guess maybe I'm okay with the fact that he was a one-timer. I mean, in a nice way. I'm not trying to be rude to, what was his name? Paul W. Cooper. I'm not trying to be rude, but I just thought it was poorly written, and I feel like that's kind of affected the movie. But before we continue to bash it even more, let's just move on to the next character, who is Cletus. And so Cletus is he's more outgoing. He's a little bit more obnoxious, very extroverted. He's very goofy. He's a very big goofball character. And he is the one who gets like the majority of the attention in this movie. He is allergic to the chicken suit, which is kind of problematic, but that's like how the whole movie takes place, is because he needs Pete to kind of step into his role as the chicken, and his performance as the chicken, Cletus, is not as good compared to Pete. He just kind of takes a more traditional approach. And I think that's kind of like why he doesn't get noticed. And Cletus, I don't know, he's just very, I don't know, he kind of was annoying because he was like just living and like relishing in Pete's like fame, if you will. And his,
he was taking advantage of him.
Yeah, that's not a good friend. Like, I don't know what he was like trying to like accomplish. However, I feel like it just made him a bad friend. Like, he was trying to be a good friend in the sense of like he's helping Pete like be noticed and stuff. However, I just feel like he just really was being a horrible friend.
Yeah, it was like taking one step forward and then 3 steps backwards with him. Because I'll probably explain it more as we get to the later parts of the story, but there's just one part in particular that like just gets to me.
All right, I can't wait to hear it when it comes up because now I'm really curious. But
right.
I'll wait my turn. And so, yeah, really, Cletus, the reason that he is he's using Pete, and he's using him by saying that Pete has like a big crush, I guess you could say, on Cletus's sister. I forgot what her name was. I don't really know if they ever specifically say. I think it might have been Cammy. Cammy sounds right. And he is like, oh, if you take my job as the chicken, I'll help set you up with Cammy. But guess what? Because Cletus is being a jerk, he doesn't actually do that. He is just, again, just thinking about nothing else but himself and abusing Pete's like friendship, like abusing their friendship for no reason. I feel like Cletus just irritated me the most.
Definitely. He was actually one of my main gripe characters in the whole film.
I feel, I don't know if it was just, I'm sure it's the way it was written. I don't think it was like Musso was like himself. However, his character was just annoying. It also felt so repetitive. It felt like all he was ever doing was lying or taking Pete for like his own advantage. And he was like with Tiffany Thornton's character, Jamie, like they were kind of like together, but she was only interested in him because of his performance as the chicken, which actually wasn't him. So he was abusing Pete in that rate too, like hit their friendship.
Yeah.
It was really messy. And I just feel like it just didn't work out for me. It was just very annoying.
Yeah, he was very manipulative throughout all of it.
I know. It's just so, I feel like in a really odd sense, this is going to be hard to explain. The character was written well if they wanted him to like be a bad character. Like the way that they wrote him, it was like to be a bad character, which I know is probably not what they wanted to do. I feel like they did want him to be a bad character because why would you want like a bad character to be the main character, whatever. It just felt but the way that it was done and portrayed and written just feels in that sense.
Yeah, it's like almost they wanted to make him a bully, but then friend at the same time. I'm like,
he like kind of like a frenemy.
Yeah, frenemy.
Which is kind of funny
I was
because the
gonna say that.
episode that comes out after this is one covering the movie Frenemies, starring Zendaya and Bella Thorne and so many others, because that movie is like a hot mess. Spoiler alert, I guess, of my opinion. But stay tuned. That was an interesting episode, to say the least. So stay tuned, everyone. Stay tuned. So up next is one of my favorite Disney Channel actresses characters, Tiffany Thornton, who plays Jamie Wynn. And so Tiffany Thornton, you might recognize her from several other Disney Channel projects, Sunny with a Chance, So Random. She was also I feel like she was in another DCOM.
She was. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I don't know.
I swear I'll remember it soon.
Actually, wait, I'm looking at like her IMDb and it doesn't look like she was in another DCOM. I'm probably thinking of someone else. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Chelsea Butler, if you know who that is.
Maybe.
I think, but she also did some voices in like a ton of different stuff, and she made guest appearances in Hannah Montana, Wizards, Fish Hooks, Kick Batowski. I think that's how you say. And a lot of stuff, Prank Stars. She voiced stuff in Doc McStuffins, the Pixie Hollow games, like tons of other stuff. But I, for some reason, thought that she was in another DCOM, and I have no idea who I was thinking she was in. This is her one and only DCOM. And so Tiffany Thornton is known for playing very popular, very blonde characters. Blonde in the sense that they're written like they're very dumb, which is kind of like stupid because I feel like it's done so many times in like everything. And she does it in a way, she does it so perfectly. I feel like the blonde like character is her best character. She did the same thing in Sunny with a Chance with her character Tawny Hart, and she's very annoying. I think her voice, like in the nicest way, is like annoying, but in the sense it like helps portray the character, because her voice just gets into your head in the way that she talks, and like it's very high pitched. It's supposed to be annoying. And in this movie, her character is just constantly trying to like fall in love with Cletus in like a really weird sense. And Cletus is like giving into it. However, she's not really in love with Cletus. She's in love with P, and P doesn't know that because he's in the chicken suit. And it's just really, really messy in that sense. That whole like love triangle, I guess, or a square, I guess you could, a love square if we throw in Angela, like her character. And
yes,
Tiffany's character is also like the head cheerleader. They're doing like fun cheers, but they're just constantly like making fun of Pete. Like there's one scene somewhere along the movie, I think it's after the huge parade, and they're trying to figure out who the chicken is. She goes, "Is it Pete? Oh no, it can't be Pete because Pete is like a nobody. Who is Pete?" And like making fun of him, being rude, typical mean girl, typical Regina George kind of vibes. And I just felt really bad because he was literally right there, and he goes, "I'm right here, guys." And I just feel like everyone was making fun of him, and like nobody ever seemed to care. No one was like helping him out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel you there.
I just felt really like sad because like I know, like if I ever heard someone like say something like that to anyone at school, I would like say something immediately. I just feel I could not let that, because I mean, this is like kind of exposing myself on the podcast, whatever. But when I was little, there was like this one kid, and he was a jerk, and he was like kind of a bully. And so like as a kid, I kind of got bullied a little bit, and it's like sad, and I still don't understand why. But life goes on, I guess. And I just felt like kind of it's like the same vibes, and like no one ever really said anything about it to like the teacher or anything. So it's just kind of like I had to deal with it, and I feel that if someone would have said anything, like it would have been different. So I personally, if I ever see anyone getting bullied, if I see anyone sitting alone at lunch, I'm always there to like go and be nice to them because I feel like I just should be nice. I feel like that's just my duty as a person. However, the people in that scene just literally don't care. Even Angela, I'm pretty sure Angela was right there, still didn't say anything.
Nope.
And
No.
I also have a bone to pick when we get to Angela when eventually. So what did you think of Jamie and all of her rude, mean personality?
Personally, on a personal level, I relate to you, but in a sense, I wasn't really bullied. I was just very quiet and kept to myself almost
So you're kind of like a
100%.
Pete character. Like you kind of keep to
Yes.
yourself a little bit. Okay.
Yep. So basically, I would in how I felt about Jamie was it is messed up and behind the scenes. Like I would wait till everyone leaves because I don't do well in crowds.
That makes
So
sense.
so I'd ask, hey, are you all right? I pretty much do the same thing to you, or as what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just really disliked her character in this film.
I totally agree. I just think it all goes back to the writing of this movie. Everything just ties back to the bad writing. Just there seems to be so much going on. Like there's a lot of plots going on. I mean, there's the chicken, and then you got the prey, then you got the love story. There's just so much going on, but they didn't give anything any time to like develop. Like it just felt like really rushed. And then you throw in like all of this extra stuff on top of like him getting made fun of and like people just being absolute straight up jerks. It's just like a lot. And I was watching this movie last night and I was just like, why is it going so fast? Because it's just
nothing really connects well.
Yeah, it just felt really fast. And then when it was over, I was literally in disbelief that it was over because I thought that there was like so much to go because there was so much that they just didn't answer from there. And so it was a ride watching this movie, to be honest. However, I still am excited. I don't know why I'm so excited to talk about this movie. I just think it's because it didn't wow me as much as I wanted it to, or as much as I remember, because I remember watching this movie last year and I was like, oh, this is like a pretty decent movie. I liked it. What was I thinking is the question.
It stuck in my head. It was stuck in my mind how much I was like, this movie is not great, but it's so like fun to talk about all of the things that went wrong.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. It all just I still can't believe I liked it, but now like going back, it just kind of makes sense. I feel like if you don't dive deep in, like me personally, I have a podcast, like a movie podcast, so I'm constantly thinking and breaking stuff down into smaller bits to like talk about it. But I feel like if you just didn't give it much thought to this movie while watching it, I guess you could be like, "Oh my gosh, this is a pretty good movie." But then you like you break it down a little bit, and then you just notice how bad it sucks. I guess I don't want to say it sucks, but I mean I'm kind of just being honest here.
That's how I feel when I actually watch like in-depth movie reviews. I'm like, I would never would have thought of that.
I know. I just sometimes like I listen like when I'm editing these podcast episodes, I'm like, Matthew, why do you care so much about all this stuff? Like just let it be. Like it's not that important. Like you just need to stop like thinking like a cool podcast. You want to be like a cool movie reviewer. I get it. But just like I just feel like sometimes I'm like being so picky over the tiniest little things, but I mean that keeps the podcast interesting, right? So
yeah, it definitely does.
Up next in the character like group, I guess, is Josie Lauren's character, Angela Morsi. And you might recognize Josie from the ABC family show Make It or Break It, which I'm pretty sure is on Netflix. I don't know where you can watch it, but I feel like I just saw it somewhere. So I'm going to look it up because I think my sister was into that show at one point. It's on Hulu. So if anyone has Hulu, you guys can go check that show out. And so her character, Angela, is like the love interest of Pete. She just moved from Texas or something like that. And she has a boyfriend that's back in Texas. And she like starts to like slowly like develop feelings for Pete. Pete has like a huge crush on her like the whole time, which I think is like kind of funny because she technically the chicken was supposed to be in love with Tiffany Thornton's character, and it's like really messy. It doesn't make any sense to me, like the way that they like try to figure it out. And so she has like been a super like avid supporter of the chicken and is really nice. And she's falling for the guy in the chicken suit. She's not falling for Pete. And so this is where it gets problematic to me with this character. This is where my beef is with this character, Angela. She is falling in love with the guy in the chicken, but she's not falling in love with Pete when I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like end of story. It just doesn't make any sense personally how she's in love with the chicken, but then there's Pete who's literally been going out of his way to like be there and like offer her rides and stuff, and she just doesn't notice. And and I felt like it was so clear the entire movie, like they're trying to like make it some big thing, like who's the chicken, but I felt like you could clearly tell who the chicken was.
It's like Hannah Montana.
It's like Hannah Montana or Radio Rebel. Like,
yeah,
it's like the same thing. And I was just like, oh, like, and when she said that she was falling for the chicken, I was like, what? I was just kind of disappointed in her character, honestly.
Yeah, same here. It's weird because it is. I think around that point that was starting to get cliche, like not recognizing something that's so obvious, so you'll act one way towards one person, or in this case, the chicken suit, and then one way to the actual person, which is Pete. I don't get why that's still a thing in these movies.
I do. I just felt like her character, however, in the nicest way, her character was the most tolerable of all of them.
Definitely.
Even that like pains me to say, because this movie, like, she still is poorly written. Her character doesn't make much sense to me at all. However, she was the best character of this whole film because I don't know if it was the actress, I don't know what it was, but her character just was good. Her character was good. I didn't have much of a bone to pick with her besides the fact that she was falling in love with the chicken. Still, I don't understand like how these cheerleaders are falling for the chicken, but whatever. And so then she gets dumped by her boyfriend halfway through the movie, and then she kind of like starts falling in love with P, and they like are cool. And then my personal favorite part of this movie, spoiler alert, is when Pete reveals like that he's the chicken, and she comes over and is like, "You want a little bit of help, Pete?" And that I feel like is the best part of this movie for me.
That's the only good part of the movie.
Yes, it is the only good part of the movie. We're being frank here, people. Like, it just made it. I think that's probably my favorite part. And then like the weirdest part of this movie comes place minutes after that, is when he's on the ground with the head off. He like fell or something, and then they like kiss, and it's like it's really awkward. It just felt so rushed, and I was like, so he's fallen for this girl this whole movie, and then they kiss while he's in the chicken suit laying on the ground. I was like, I was embarrassed for him. And in front of everybody, like, give him some privacy. Like, I was just like, come on. I mean, I'm just trying to be nice here, but come on. I felt like that was just like the worst part of this movie.
My worst part was different.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear it. I don't really think that there's like any other characters that are like worthy enough of talking about. I mean, we have the Ivy parents who like have like their shirts that say Rooster Booster on it. I'm pretty sure that's them. And then you have the Pole parents, I'm pretty sure, make a couple appearances. We got the guy who was in several things on Nickelodeon, Sweet Life. He was on Sweet Life. He was on Nickelodeon, who is the coach. He played Arwen. So if you like recognize him and his character, I mean, I'm not really going to spend a lot of time talking about his character, but I just want to mention his character is so confusing to me. He contradicts himself very often. He's like, first he hates the chicken because he like interrupted or whatever, but then he like hates the chicken. And I was just so confused. And then at the end, he's like in love with the chicken too. Why is everyone in love with the chicken?
Yeah, that part is what actually grinds my gears on that.
I mean, I was just like, I mean, Pete seems like a nice dude. He seems like a cool dude. However, they don't like give his character anything to like make him feel cool, I guess. And then you got all these characters that are falling in love with the chicken, but not Pete, even though Pete is the chicken, which still, I don't know. I'm just kind of confused. There was a lot of questions to me left unanswered, and I'm gonna bring it back as usual to the bad writing.
I agree with that 100%.
And so up next, really, I mean, just let's get into the plot because now I want to know what the worst part of this movie was. So we're just going to start from the top. So Pete Ivy, he's teen, he's introverted, and then we have Cletus, extroverted, who is the mascot. And so he wants to date Cammy, who is Cletus's sister. But he's been asked out by Dill, and we didn't spend too much time talking about Dill because I don't feel like he deserves to be talked about. But he is just like really annoying, and he just thinks that he's like popular and cool because he's on the basketball team or whatever. Total jerk, total annoying person. I did not enjoy his character.
Let's just add more to the unlikable character list.
I mean, there was a lot of them. There was a lot of unlikable characters. And I mean, I'm not even surprised anymore as we continue to add more characters because I just feel like it's just every single one just was worse than the other.
No, for sure.
So, yes. So we've got that jerk. And then, so he's kind of like rejected. And so he's bouncing on a trampoline, I recall. And his dad's like, hey, Pete, what's wrong? Like, what's up? And he's like, oh, well, I kind of missed my chance with this girl I like. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he says. And I am just like, oh my gosh, that scene was very awkward to me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the way that he said, well, I missed my chance with this girl I like, or I don't know what it was, but I could not stand that scene. Maybe it's just the dad. I think the dad probably has something to do with it too. The dad was very unsupportive, just very annoying. I feel like every single parent in a Disney Channel original movie at this point, like, and as I think especially in this era, like this 2007 to 2009 era, I feel like it's just like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, they're not really supportive, or they're overbearing sometimes.
Or some of them are just dead. That too. And so now Cletus is like, hey, dude, can you be the mascot? And it's really, he has an allergy to the suit, but he can't disappoint his parents or his family legacy of being the chicken. That is his family's legacy, is the chicken, which I don't really know how to take it. Like, that's your legacy. Like, I'm just
a high school mascot.
And he just doesn't want to disappoint him, but he's allergic. And so he's like, please, please, please wear it. And so then, even though Dill has already claimed the sister, Cammy, he's like, yeah, I'll get you a date with my sister or whatever, or get you together with my sister. I don't know what the exact like agreement between the two was, but then he agrees. And so Pete starts taking like this upon himself to be this amazing mascot, like go you. But he kind of has a little bit of a rocky start. But I think that another problem within this movie is it's like a movie with a message that you don't have to be like it's like the whole message of like being your true self, I think, because the reason that Pete like starts getting noticed and starts acting like a totally different person is because he's not himself when he's in the chicken suit. He's a totally different person. And I just think that that sends a slightly problematic message.
Yeah, it's like pretty much change yourself if you want to be accepted into, I don't know, society or just high school. If you want to fit in, which is one of the messages I feel like they shouldn't be sharing. But
yeah, I got you. It's really weird. I just feel bad, honestly, because I just wish that this movie had a better message, and there isn't one. So very sad. But now he starts getting good. He's getting congratulated. What did he do? He went into like the other team's huddle. He sat by the other team. He he caused this whole uproar, which I was like thinking I honestly thought it was pretty cool. But then he's like, hey, dude, what'd you do to like wow these people? Like these people are loving it. But then Pete doesn't know, which I don't understand how he doesn't know. But then he's like, Cletus is like, dude, I'll just sit in the stands and you can be the chicken or the mascot. And I was like, what? No. This was not part of the deal. If one of my friends ever pulled this, he just continually changed the deal for like his own benefit. And I was like, dude, why? I got so irritated with him and specifically around this part. But then we get this new cheerleader character introduced, which is Angela. And so Pete starts crushing on her and is kind of getting over Cammy. And well, I'm pretty sure he is. But then they get chosen for the parade float committee. Pete didn't want to do it, but then Angela joined. And so now they work together and they become friends. And Pete starts falling for her, like the classic Disney Channel, early 2000s love story. That's how they always are, I feel.
Yep.
And so now they start building this thing and whatever. And now they're building this float for the big chicken festival thing. Why is there a chicken festival? I don't know. I don't know what the point was. I don't know if it's like a chicken festival or whatever. Like it's like a huge town event.
Yeah, I don't remember if they explained what it was for.
And everyone's there. Everyone is there. And I'm just like, why? And like they are trying to come up with this float idea. And I'm obviously like thinking like do something with the chicken, which is what they end up doing because why not? Because that would make sense because it's called Hatching Pete. There's chicken, like that would be the smart thing. But no one seems to think of that. Like everyone is just like, oh yeah, like whatever, like we'll do something else. Like that's not a good idea. And I was like, why? I don't know. There was so much confusing aspects of this movie to me. And so now there is a huge dance number that is actually a song. I took note that I listened to it. It is called Let It Go. It is sung by Tiffany and Mitchel Musso. And it's very annoying. The song is straight autotune. I feel like I'm being super negative, but I feel like I'm just stating the truth. It's really, really annoying. It's straight auto-tune. It just sounds bad. It sounds like
it doesn't sound right most of the time.
Yeah, it's so auto-tuned. And I mean, I don't know like if Tiffany had done any other singing or whatever, but it just sounds like they auto-tuned the crap out of her voice. And I'm just like, I feel like she's probably more talented than that. Like, why did you do that? And then I don't know. They played it at another point too. And that song is just very annoying. And I'm sorry that I hated it so much, but I had to go a little bit of a rant over on that song just because I feel like there was a lot of potential for that song. But yet again, the Disney Channel stars did not take advantage of the potential. So then then we notice that the character who he calls Pico's Bill is actually Cletus. And so he escapes this crowd and steals the sheriff's car, or I should specify he is Pete. And so now then he runs into Angela, and she is like trying to like talk about like this feeling that she has for the chicken because she's starting to worry that she's falling for Cletus, but little does she know, it's not Cletus. It's
that was my biggest gripe of the whole movie.
This was the big thing.
The sheriff car thing, because isn't that right before the entire town resents the chicken in general?
Yes, that is like
they
right
like
before.
Witch hunt him, and they want him captured, and then he goes into hiding. And then the only reason why they want him back is because of the basketball game. And they're like, oh, we need him here. So we're not going to arrest you anymore because we need you at this high school football game. I don't know what possessed them to trust them at all. I don't know.
I get where you're going.
It made zero sense to me. Like, who knows? How do you know they were going to capture you at the end of the game? How do you know they were going to do it immediately when you showed up? I don't know. I would have definitely been a little bit weary about that. That could have been a setup too. We don't know.
I actually 100% agree with you. So I was actually just going to mention this. The way that they like try to hunt him down because he is said like bad chicken. He stole the car. I mean, he did kind of commit a crime.
Yeah. And he gets no repercussions either.
There's just so much wrong with that scene. Like they witch hunt him, like you said. Why? Yep. Why?
That's one of my biggest reasons why that was actually the reason why I wanted to talk about it so much, because no one talks about this part ever. This is the worst part. Probably almost in any DCOM.
I do think it is the worst part in any DCOM.
Yes, that's what I was saying. So he can steal a car and get away with it. And also, at the same time, the town only wants to witch hunt them because I don't know if there was a bail prize or not. Or not a bail.
I think originally there was, but I don't know if like after. Yeah. I think they got rid of it and then they try to like kind of like forget about it, which still. I don't know like why they were so set on, like you said, catching him. He's like a horrible human being. The chicken is like bad. We need to catch him. But then they completely forgot about that. And then they're like, oh yeah, we just need you at this game.
Yep. I don't know how Pete knew that the game could have not been a trap to capture him.
Yeah, I wouldn't go if I was the chicken because I feel like it'd be a complete sham.
Yeah, and I was honestly still in the movie. It would have been redeemable if he did get arrested and then they bailed him out somehow. And they're like, okay, that goes to show you shouldn't commit crimes by stealing cars or running away. But no, they just let him off.
Yeah,
and
okay. That is, I do agree. That makes now that I know your like biggest problem with this movie, it makes sense because it just doesn't work. This whole movie is still so confusing, and there's going to be no saving it. Like we can't turn back now.
No.
But from there, he's on this walk with Angela, and Angela is like kind of like almost gonna like ask her, and he wants to say it that he's the chicken, but she is like, wait, or she's like, well, wait, if he like. What if I don't like him outside of the suit? And then I'm like, this also it feeds off of the early thing with them falling in love with the chicken. And I'm just like, come on, people. Like that scene, as much as I didn't like most of the characters in this movie, and even though Angela is still not a good character, she annoyed me in that sense. And she was still the best character because the characters are not very good. But why is she like so worried? And then she makes this quote, something along the lines of the magic is in the mystery. Once the magic is gone, so is the mystery. I don't know, something like that. And then he doesn't say it because now he's worried that she doesn't feel the same way. But along the way, she also her boyfriend broke up with her or whatever. And now they're still, because we kind of jumped the gun a little bit about the thing, they're still, after this walk, they're still on this witch hunt, like you said, for the chicken. And they try to drop the like charges so that he'll come to this game, and they like try to call the chicken together. And so they make a whole school assembly for like absolutely no reason, just to basically say that they're going to drop charges and expect them to come forward. So Pete stands up and wants to come forward, but then the bell rings, which was stupid.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, dude.
I would hate to see how society really works in that town.
I mean, what is the society thinking? Like, what is the basis for half of the stuff that like goes through their brains? Like, they're so dependent on this chicken to win their game. I'm pretty sure this team hasn't won in like forever. Every time I just shake my head more and more as we continue to talk about it, because it just doesn't make much sense.
No.
And the chicken is like their only source of happiness, and then they like hate him for a while, and I'm just like, come on. People of said town, get it together.
There has to be one other person that could dance in a mascot suit in that town.
I mean, I've been in a mascot suit before. It's not that fun. It smells disgusting. I almost threw up. But I'm just like, it's not that special. So like, why are they so obsessed and dependent on this chicken?
I really don't know.
I really don't know
like
either.
A football game.
Like,
priorities
it just still doesn't make sense. I don't know. So said chicken is very confusing. So then now they try to come together. The chicken actually does not come to the game, but then before the next game, he goes on television, they change the voice. And so he doesn't realize it, but he says the same quote that Angela said to him, which is like the magic and the mystery thing. And so that gives away that it is Pete, because Angela knows, because she literally said that same thing to him. And I thought that was such an underwhelming way to find out for her.
I agree so much with that.
I just wish that like there was like a huge reveal for her. Like he told her like himself, like, and like they like fell madly in love, like happily ever after thing. I feel like that would have made this movie better, because he still didn't tell her, but she's still like in love with this guy, or I should say with the chicken, not even the guy. Like, there's just so many things wrong with that to me. There's so many things wrong with her for that. And now she realizes it, but doesn't say anything. So then they get what do they make? Like, they make a chicken. What do they call it? Like a chicken signal? Because they like compare it to the bat signal.
I want to say it was that. I forgot what the term was.
Chicken signal or something like that. I don't know.
Something
it was
like
that. so bad. Like, I was like, really, people, that is what you're gonna lure this chicken in with? And so, of course, they do it. They lure the chicken in, and all of a sudden, somehow, the lights turn off, and magically, he's up on the ceiling.
It's like he planned it.
Well, I'm sure he did plan it, but like, how did you get up on the ceiling? And he's like bungee corded too. Like, he took the safety precautions, but it still doesn't make any sense.
They're not supposed to know he was there, so I don't know how he had the time to do all that.
Yeah, I'm just like, come on. Again, it doesn't make any sense. I still think it goes back to the poor writing. And so then now they start fighting back, but then they ask, I think during like halftime or a timeout, something. I'm not a huge basketball person. I can't specifically tell you all the different parts of the game. But so he removes the head, and so Angela's character comes and she's like, let me help you out with that, Pete. And then he's like, you knew? She's like, of course I knew. The magic's in the mystery, whatever. Like, oh my gosh, how cute. No, it's not cute. They should have done a different reveal. And so then they win the game. They tumble, but then Angela falls on Pete. Then they kiss. Aw, so romantic. But then Cletus, because Cletus just comes out of nowhere, tells to put the chicken hat back on and celebrate this big win. I'm like, let Pete have his moment. This whole movie, he's been bullied, harassed. And then Cletus, who literally is in the spotlight this whole movie, it just comes out of nowhere and interrupts their little cute time together. I was so irritated.
Yeah, one of the worst best friends in probably all of DCOMs.
Right there. I was just so annoyed. I was like, come on, dude. Go away. Like, he didn't add anything special to the story besides the fact that he was allergic to the suit. So that's why Pete had to do it. But other than that, this whole movie, all he ever did was cause issues.
I think it would have been more believable or understandable if he was a sibling to him and then he had another best friend.
That would have been better if they were siblings.
Yeah, because that would make sense as to why he's taking advantage of him. And then you wouldn't feel as like, oh, pick better friends. Like, no, that's your sibling. You have to live with them.
I know.
Then you could have a supporter friend that's telling you what's going on. Like, you're being used, but no, he doesn't get that at all.
I know. I'm just still really irritated with this film in a lot of ways. And I know there's going to be people in my DMs and they're going to be like, oh, you are being so rude about this movie. This is one of the greatest DCOMs ever made. Like, what are you talking about? It's not. It's really not. This movie there's so much left. There was so much room for potential. I'll give it that. There was so much room for potential. However, like most DCOMs, the potential just didn't play out in their favor. And this movie just seems, it's bland, it's underwhelming, it's rushed, it's poorly written. And I just think that if this movie were to be better, like we said, we would need some more development. I would like to see a better reveal between Angela and Pete. Maybe make Cletus the brother. That would make a little bit more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I just think this movie was too far down the rabbit hole for it to be saved.
No, definitely. It's my bottom 10 of the DCOMs.
I actually want to like rank them soon. I might do a tier list of the ones I've done so far. Like maybe for my like anniversary coming up, or by the time this is out, it's past, but it's like somewhere around there because I want to like rank all the ones I've got so far. But truthfully, I was really underwhelmed. I'm kind of sad. I expected more. It's got two pretty big stars. Like we got Dolley, Musso, like great stars. However, and Tiffany Thornton. I love Tiffany Thornton in Sunny with a Chance. However, just wasn't good.
No, not in this movie. I'd actually love to hear somebody's thoughts defending this.
I also would. So, for anyone who's listening to this episode of the podcast, and they probably aren't here anymore because we bashed it so much. However, if you stayed till this point and you really like this movie, or it's in your top 10, or you really like this movie or love it, etc., DM me, DM some review dude. We want to hear your thoughts and why it's so good. We would like to hear your arguments. We're not going to judge. We might a little bit, but we would like to hear your thoughts on this movie and why. What makes it for you? Like, is it the plot? Is it the people in it? Like, what is it? Please let us know because we respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I'm down to hear both sides of the spectrum.
I'm always down. Any episode, I should probably just start saying this in all my episodes. If you're down, if you have a completely different opinion than me, or even if you have the same opinion, DM me because I want to hear it. Because I'm always like interested in like seeing what other people think. With that being said, we now have to rank this movie. And I was thinking yesterday after I finished watching it, and in my notes, I wrote down 5. However, I think I'm going to have to give it like a 4.5. It's really low, I know. However, this movie is just not that good.
I was going to give it, 4.5, almost 5.
Yeah, maybe like a 4.75 I'm willing to negotiate, but that's about as high as I'm willing to go.
Yeah, I'm at a stagnant 4.5.
It's just, I just think that there was a lot of potential. Don't get me wrong. This movie, the plot is actually like good. I think it's relatable for like the kid that has a crush on a girl that might like him, but not in the sense that he wants to. Like, I feel like I know several people have been there. They've liked someone, whether it be a boy, girl, whatever. They really have kind of felt that same way, but the person doesn't feel the same. And this movie had potential to be relatable, funny, and tie all together, but I didn't feel that it worked. I think it is, like you said, probably in the lowest DCOM tier for me.
Definitely. If you are doing the tier list, I am so down to watch that.
Oh yes. Honestly, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna write that down. I need to probably record that. But first I need to make a list of all this. I already actually have a list of all the stuff I've covered. I just need to actually like go in and write everything down, and I'm down to rank it because I think that'd be cool to see like what I've done so far, what's on the top, what's on the bottom. Maybe also if I'm actually willing to like find my ratings of all these DCOMs in my episodes, I could just like do it based off of that. Because I'm starting to keep track of them. I can tell you the lowest ones so far, with a kind of near this one ranking wise, would be Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior. I didn't really enjoy that one too much. And Girl versus Monster.
Yeah, Girl vs. Monster was very meh to me.
Yeah, I loved it as a kid, but not as like a teen. If anyone has listened to my episode, I think it's episode 51. I did it during like my Halloween special, and I truly, really, really hated that one. So go check that one out. But I think that's still ranked lower than this one on my list. I can actually do it really quick while I'll look up my little list. However, do you have anything else you want to add? I feel like we talked about most of it. I feel like we covered the flaws and everything.
I think we covered pretty much the major parts, especially the ones that bothered me.
Yes.
So I don't think we need to bully this movie anymore.
I don't think we need to either. It's in my podcast Google account. I'm getting there, everyone. But this is episode 79 of the podcast, which is exciting. So thank you guys for sticking around to the podcast. I literally can't even find the list right now, which is kind of sad, but I will DM you later once I tell you what is the lowest. So thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. It's always fun to have you and get your insight on several films. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, we also did Even Stevens. The Even Stevens movie, and we also did the Quince with Kimberly J. Brown. So check out those episodes 59, I believe. So this is like 20 episodes later. And episode 50, no, I don't know. I don't remember actually, and I'm really sad because I should know. It's my podcast. Quince is episode 67. So 59 and 67. Go check out those episodes. Let us know what you think. And if you guys would like to follow me on Instagram, it's at @SoMatthew. And you can also follow Some Review Dude on Instagram at @some_review dude, I believe.
Yep.
That's correct? Okay.
Yep.
And his stuff will be linked below in like the little show notes. And he'll be tagged on Instagram, so go check out his account. So any closing thoughts before I go on my quick ramble?
Give Hatching Pete a watch for yourself.
Yes, if you haven't watched it, please go watch it, and then come back to us and DM us.
Yes.
So yes. I do have the list pulled up, so I will pull it up for you. So the ones that on the list that I actually went back and got the ratings for that are low would be Girl versus Monster with a 3 and a 3.8 for me and my guest.
Wow.
Invisible Sister got a 4 and a 3.5 for me and my guest. And the other low one, where is it? Is Twitches with a 5 and a 4.5. And then Twas the Night with a 5.75 and a 5.5. And the Ultimate Christmas Present with a 4 and a 3.
The Christmas ones, ooh.
Yeah, so those were the lowest ones so far. If you guys haven't checked out any of those episodes, just go check them out. They're on my feed somewhere along the line. I could probably tell you guys all the numbers, but then I actually have to think about it. So just go check those out. You guys can also, I already said this, but follow me on Instagram at That's Matthew, Twitter at That's Matthew1, Facebook.com/That's So Matthew. And you can find me on YouTube, where I upload all my episodes with captions, which is That's So Matthew. I think it's youtube.com/That's So Matthew. And what else? You guys can also go to my website, thatsmatthew.com, and check out all the fun stuff on there, like my mail list for emails to be updated. And it's kind of like what I like to call my weekly letters to you, because I like to give information and feel like we're close. And you guys can also check out my merch store on my website as well. So once again, thank you so much, Summer View Dude, for coming on the podcast. Always great to have you. Make sure to follow him.
Thanks for having me again.
Yes, no problem. Much appreciated. And I will see you guys all again in another episode soon. Bye.
See ya.